Hello everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. In this video today we are going to do something a little bit different. Here I am first showing you some handwriting that I have done using the Pilot Metropolitan with a fine nib, and the ink that I'm using here is the Lamy Pacific. And the Metropolitan is really a dry writer, but I felt that it was slightly scratchy. The nib was fine, but it was slightly scratchy. And although I could write with it for hours and hours, and I have written with it for hours, and I will link the video down below, but still I thought that maybe I could make the nib smoother so that I can have an even better writing experience. And I heard on the Fountain Pen Network Philippines that one of my former professors, Jose Y. Dalisay Jr., he is a multi-awarded, internationally acclaimed fictionist and writer. He is also a fountain pen collector, and once he used a bunch of nail buffing sticks from the Face Shop to smooth his scratchy nibs, so I am going to try that out. What I have here is actually a nail polishing block, and this one is from the Body Shop. I picked it up at SM Aura for the price on the item is 195 pesos, but I actually paid only 95 pesos for it because there was a promo going on. So this is what we are going to try out, and now let's unwrap it. I have seen Brian Goulet's video of him smoothing a scratchy nib using a Mylar sheet, but I don't have a Mylar and it's not available locally, and I didn't want to pay international shipping just for a bunch of very light papers, so I thought I would try this out. Now this nail polishing block has 4 different surfaces. The first one is the coarsest, and it's actually for filing the nail edge. Number 2 surface is to remove ridges, and it's a lot smoother. Number 3 is for smoothing the nail, and it's much smoother. And the 4th surface is for shining the nail, which is the smoothest of them all. I decided to use only surface number 2 and number 3 together. I didn't use surface number 1 because I thought it was very coarse and it might be too aggressive, because my nib really doesn't have any problems. It's not even completely scratchy, it is just very slightly scratchy. So I just opened up my notebook. It is the Midori MD-A5 notebook with the blank papers, and that is what I'm using as a journal. On it you can see that I have a Hobonichi Cousin cover and cover on cover, and the way to do it is to really just draw slow, I was going fast in this video, but it should be slow figures of 8 on the surface of the nail polishing block, that is surface number 2, and just alternate the figures of 8 on the buffing block and testing out the nib on the actual paper. So Brian Goulet says that we should do this fairly slowly, but I was too impatient. I thought I was actually going slow when I was doing it, but when I'm playing the video back now, I think that I was going too fast. And at this point, I'm going to just speed up the video because it's just going to be me for about 8, 9, or 10 minutes doing this same thing and testing out the nib on the paper if it's less scratchy. And as I went along, I observed that the nib became smoother and smoother. And then it came to a point in which I felt that the nib was smooth enough. Now I have to finish up what I have done by scribbling the same figure of 8 over and over again on surface number 3 of the nail polishing block. The first figure of 8 that you see on there is really just me trying out the surface. But this time when I came back to surface number 3, I did the series of figures of 8 and then continued to alternate that with scribbling on the paper to test out the smoothness of the nib. And then once again, it was pretty much the same thing over and over. It was another about 8 or 9 or 10 minutes of doing this exact same thing, and then I just used a table napkin from Jollibee to wipe the nib as I went along, because I have noticed that some very, very fine granules accumulate at the very tip of the nib as I went along. And then, because the Metropolitan is a dry writer and I needed more lubrication so that I can continue doing the smoothing, I manually pushed some ink up into the feed by screwing up the piston on the Con 40. And then I did try doing the figures of 8 on surface number 4, but it was too soft. It was almost like a cushion that the nib keeps, up digging into the surface. So I went back to surface number 3 again. And this would be the nail polishing block after I was done with it. I don't recommend using surface number 4 only because it's too soft and it won't really accomplish much. But surface number 2 and 3 are okay. 4 is pretty much useless, and number 1 is too aggressive, but you can use it if you're brave enough. And this is how the nib looks after all the smoothing has been done. So just to show you once more the before and after, this is the before shot. This is something that I have written using the pen before I did any smoothing. This is the same one that I showed at the beginning of this video. And then this is the after shot. As you can see, the line width is exactly the same, but the lines are a little bit darker. I think ink flow has actually improved a little bit because of the better contact between the nib and the paper, so there's better capillary action. But I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. Once again, here's the before, and I can tell that it's the before shot because of the words "explore this" in print letters, and this would be the after shot. The difference is very, very subtle. It might not show up completely on camera, but I can tell how it looks. But the most important thing for me is that it really feels so much different. The nib now is very, very smooth across the paper, and I'm really, really happy I did it. And I would like to add something a little interesting to this video. These are actually annotations that I have written for a novel called Soledad's Sister, and it's written by Jose Y. de Lisa Jr., the very same man who I talked about at the beginning of this video, the one who smoothed his fountain pen nibs using nail buffers from the Face Shop. And it just turned out that I just happened to be annotating his book for my thesis when I decided to drop by the store and purchase the nail polishing block. All in all, it took me only about half an hour to finish everything. I'm really glad I did this. I think every fountain pen user should have a nail buffing block with them, but just make sure that you're not voiding your warranty when you do this, because Brian Goulet said in his video that if you use something more aggressive like micro mesh or Mylar paper, then you might end up actually voiding the warranty of your pen. But as for me, I'm just using a very cheap Pilot Metropolitan, and these were the tools that I used: the nail polishing block, the table napkin from Jollibee, and the Midori MD A5 notebook. So I hope you guys were able to find some ideas and tips from this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!